Hi, today we will learn closure function in JavaScript. Before going to the closure function details directly, let's learn the related topics with closure. Outer function, inner function, and lexical scoping. Maybe let me show you a simple closure function example and then we discuss all these points one by one. Yeah, this is the simple closure function example, and where you have a function defined. In this example, it's a outer, and it is having some console statement, and it has some variable declared in it. Let a var equal to 10, and it also has a function, a new function defined inside it. Okay, so this outer function, the function name which is outer, which is which is actually outer function, and then the function which is defined inside this outer function is called inner function. And if you see, this outer function returns this inner function. That means whenever you are trying to call this outer function, and it returns the inner function reference, and you can consume the inner function wherever you want in your source code. Okay, so this is about the outer and inner functions. And now let's look at the other point, lexical scoping. Here, if you see if you see in this example, the inner function which can access the variable which is defined in the function which is the parent of this, the outer function basically. This is that means it can access a state or the scope of the outer function which is defined, because the scoping happens while the this is how the parser refers to the place, or they refers to the memory where this particular variable a var is defined. It looks out all the outer functions for this function, and it tries to find out where this variable is defined and declared. Okay, let's go ahead and implement this. Okay, let's try to, I'll use the ES6 syntax for defining a function, and let's use like some parent function, and as we just discussed, the closure function is a nothing but a inner function which will be returned or which will be called through the parent function. Okay, let inside or child inner function or a child function, however you want to name it, for name your closure function. So now what we want to achieve here is like we call the parent function, and it should return the child function. The inner function will be returned by this, and it has to you can call this child inner function because the parent function returns you the child function reference, and you can call this child function wherever you want. And now what and all this child function can do, the closure, the concept, what and all it can access from the parent. The first thing, it can access the variable defined in the parent, and it also can access the parameters which are being passed to the parent. Example like this. Now let's check. I'm trying to print these two variables, the variable and the parameter inside the child function. Variable access parent variable access, maybe let me write it, parent variable access, and I'm trying to access the aware, and the similar way I'll try to access the parameter, parent parameter access, and the parameter name is param1. Okay, so this is how you can create a simple closure function, which is nothing but an inner function which will be wrapped with the outer function. And let's call this function now. Let's check what it returns. I'm trying to call the parent function, which is obviously returns me the reference of child function. I call the parent function. Now it will return me the child function reference, and now I have to call the child function, and let's see what it returns. Okay, so now you can see parent variable, it printed the value which is defined in the outer parent function, that is nothing but 10, and undefined you can see for the parameter, because we didn't send the parameter to the parent. Now let's send the parameter also. Yes, now 10 and 20 got printed. So, and if you observe this, we send the parameter to the parent, and but the same can be accessed inside the child function, and a similar way with the variable. And if you observe, I just want to highlight one point here. If you observe, whenever we call the parent function, just with this line, your parent function execution will be over. That means like the variables and the other stuff, which are parameters and all the stuff, ideally, which will be, the lifetime of those will be over. But because of the inner function is consuming those, still those variables and parameters which are consumed in the inner function will be still alive. It will not be cleared by the JavaScript engine. Yeah, this is the simple concept of a closure function to understand. Thank you.